ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So we had this verse, I'll chant this again. Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarva. Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarva Kanta Siromani. You can chant. Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarva Kanta Siromani. Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarva Kanta Siromani. Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarva Kanta Siromani. Okay, we saw this in the morning. We will just read the synonyms and translation and then get going. Govinda Anandini. Govinda Anandini. See who gives pleasure to Govinda. Radha. Srimati Radharani. Govinda Mohini. See who mystifies Govinda. Govinda Sarvasva. The be-all and end-all of Lord Govinda. Sarva Kanta. Of all the Lord's lovers. Siromani. The crown jewel. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of all his consorts. So this beautiful verse we saw in the morning, Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva, Sarva Kanta Siromani. Just to remind you what we did in the morning, very quickly, we saw this why worship Srimati Radharani, and we had this beautiful song from Prabhupada.
Krishna Tava Punya Vibhai, Krishna Tava Punya Vibhai,
Krishna Tava Punya Vibhai, Krishna Tava Punya Vibhai. हे पुण्य गोविंदे जगवे
राधा रानी सुखी हवे
गोवाति
बोली तो माता कृष्ण तव पुण्य हवे भाई कृष्ण तव पुण्य हवे भाई
Krishna Krishna So this is a song which was composed by Srila Prabhupada when he entered here in the US, and that was the mood. We saw how this is such an important thing, an Acharya, empowered Acharya, when he's coming on a mission to spread Krishna's message, what is he praying? And this is a refrain. Refrain is something which gets repeated. Right? So the meaning of this verse is, O brothers, or O brother, the Supreme Lord Krishna will bestow virtue upon you, but he will do this only when Srimati Radharani first becomes pleased with you. This I surely declare to you. Dhruva ati boli tomata. This I surely declare to you. And we had taken various points from this. Only when Srimati Radharani first becomes pleased with you. And then we saw that there are 3 points from this. First one being the all-attractive ultimate reality. The supreme object of devotion is Krishna. He is the supreme absolute truth. He is all attractive. This is, so he, the Supreme Lord will bestow. Nobody else can do this. And who's that Supreme Lord? Who's that supreme absolute truth? It's Krishna. And as the infinite Lord cannot be known by us finite souls, we need his mercy to reach him. We are finite, we are conditioned, we are entrapped in this body. We don't have the true knowledge of Sat Chit and Ananda. So if we really want to know that Lord who's infinite, who's only Satchidananda, who's Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, who's pure, who's Supreme Brahman, with our conditioned state, we can't know it. We need his mercy to reach it. And the mercy can be accessed by pleasing his greatest devotee, Srimati Radharani, who is the devotional energy personified and is the most generous bestower of devotion. So that was the context in which we had our morning class. We saw about Prabhupada's father and this wonderful verse, the purport how Prabhupada is talking about Radharani is a tender-hearted feminine counterpart of the Supreme Whole, resembling the perfectional stage of the worldly feminine nature. Mercy of Radharani is available very readily to the sincere devotees. And once he recommends such a devotee to Lord Krishna, the Lord at once accepts the devotee's admittance into his association. Then we saw this particular lecture of Prabhupada, the 45 minutes duration on Radhastami. Only the last 5 minutes he talks about Radharani. And as I said, in this 5 minutes, what Prabhupada explains and gives, hours of lectures also cannot be, cannot communicate, cannot convey that message. Very powerful lecture. You can see that we highlighted some points and saw this. What we are going to do now is, who is Srimati Radharani? This is where we stopped. We didn't stop exactly here. I had shown this video. Hopefully this will play now again.
सुनो सुनो सावरे की बंसी है बाजी, सुनो सुनो सावरे की बंसी है बाजी, नैनों से धार धार कजरा बहेजी, जियरा तरसे नैना तरसे, जियरा तरसे नैना तरसे, प्यासी प्यासी अखियाँ काहे से बरसे, सुनो सुनो सावरे की बंसी है बाजी, नैनों से धार धार कजरा बहेजी, जियरा तरसे नैना तरसे, जियरा तरसे नैना तरसे, प्यासी प्यासी अखियाँ काहे से बरसे, सुनो सुनो सावरे की बंसी
लिए समस्त वृंदावन वासियों का अगाध प्रेम भक्ति की पराकाष्ठा है, और विशेष रूप से गोपियों का अनन्य प्रेम तो अपनी गहराई, ऊंचाई, पवित्रता और दिव्यता के कारण भक्ति की परिपूर्णता है। और तुम राधे, तुम उस अनन्य प्रेम की शिरोमणि हो। सच तो ये है कि मैं ना तुम्हारे प्रेम की बराबरी कर सकता हूँ, ना उसका ऋण उतार सकता हूँ। क्षमा करना राधे, मुझे मथुरा जाना ही होगा। संसार को मेरी आवश्यकता है, इतिहास मेरी प्रतीक्षा कर रहा है।
मधुबन गूंजे तराना श्याम रंग।
So we had seen this in the morning, that particular place where Krishna speaks for some time in that song. Of course, the song is not so important, but it talks about when Krishna and Balaram are taken away by Akrura, how intensely the Brajavasis, including the Gopis and Radharani, are feeling the separation of Krishna. So who is Srimati Radharani? Today we saw why Radharani should be worshipped from the eyes of Srila Prabhupada. Who is Srimati Radharani? Let's see from the eyes of Uddhav. Let's see from the eyes of Srimad Bhagavatam, and not just go by our mundane understanding. To do that, okay, before I go there and talk about Uddhav and his explanation of Radharani, this one verse is a very seminal verse in understanding who Radharani is, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, spoken by Swarup Damodar, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Adi Leela discounts. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Alhadini Sakti Rasma Ekat Mano Api Bhuvi Pura Deha Bhedam Gatotau Chaitanyakhyam Prakatam Madhuna Tat Dvayam Chaikyam Aptam Radha Bhavadyuti Subalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. So Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Alhadin Sakti Rasma. So Vikriti, the word Vikriti is a transformation. Radharani is Krishna's loving potency. Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Alhadini Sakti Rasmat. This Radharani is the transformation of Krishna's loving potency. She is an energy. Krishna is energetic and she is the energy. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Alhadini Sakti Rasmat. Ekatmano, they are one. Api Bhuvi Pura Deha Bhedam. When they come into this material world, there is a difference in the bodies. Api Bhuvi Pura Deha Bhedam Gatau Tau. And very surprisingly, when Krishna sees his own expansion, his own pleasure potency, Alhadini Sakti, being so lovingly engaged in devotional service, he also develops a desire to experience that rasa, to experience that mellow. Then Radha and Krishna again become one. Then that is called Chaitanya. Chaitanyakhyam Prakatam Adhuna Tadvayam Chaikyam Aptam Radha Bhava Dyuti Subalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. So Swarup Damodar is bowing down to that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Radha Krishna combined together. He's Radharani, he's coming in the mood of Radharani. And that is why one of the biggest thing we can see that how Radharani is so compassionate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also equally compassionate. Na dekhe patra, na dekhe apatra, sthana na dekhe. He doesn't see who's deserving, who's undeserving, which place it is. He just distributes the love of Krishna freely to anybody. That same mood of compassion as Radharani has. Chaitanyakhyam prakadam adhuna tadvayam chaikyam aptam Radha bhava dyuti subalitam naumi Krishna swarupam. These are very inconceivable things. That Radharani, first of all, his appearing, Krishna is expanding as Radharani, as his pleasure potency. Then again, he is becoming one, uniting with that pleasure potency to come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if we want to understand Radharani, we have to see from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. We have to see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experiences that bhava and how it is beautifully penned in our Bhagavatam commentaries. So this translation of this verse is, the loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestation of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, previously they separated themselves. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So this is just the intro of who Srimati Radharani is. Now let's see from the eyes of an exalted devotee like Uddhav from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, when I was preparing, I thought how much what we can do in 1 hour, because beyond 1 hour, our attention span doesn't remain. We see when the class is going to get over. Somehow I have to go and do other things. So I thought what it can be that can be compact and the message can be communicated well. But unfortunately, I would say I felt that it is impossible to compact this 2 chapters of Uddhav visiting Vrindavan in 1 hour. Because the emotions are so intense and the people, the devotees that we are talking about are so exalted. You can't talk about them in 1 hour. You have to read them. You have to read and understand what it is. So let us see what we can do. I will just share some pictures during the course of our presentation, and these pictures talk a lot. Just see these pictures. There are the gopis all around, and Uddhav has come with a message which is sent by Krishna to, for some reasons, we will see what it is. And what these gopis are doing, we will also see. What I want to show or start with, and then I'll give a context of before and after, is from a verse which Sukadeva Goswami is talking. This one, upside down. Okay. This is the 47th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is there in Krishna book also. And very beautiful verses. We will see this verse and then understand this and then start this. So 46th and 47th chapter, both the chapters are Uddhava's visit to Vrindavan. We just saw that Krishna and Balaram were taken by Akrura from Vrindavan to Mathura, and Krishna never returned. But after many, many years, he has sent Uddhav. What is happening? What is the situation? Why it happened? What is the context? We will see. But I want to start with Sukha Uvacha. This is Sukadeva Goswami talking. And what is he saying? Tam Veksha Krishna Anucharam Brajastriya Pralamba Bahum Navakanja Lochanam Pitambaram Puskaramalinam Lasan Mukharavindam Parimrishta Kundalam. Actually, this verse is talking about Uddhav from the eyes of the gopis. Tam is unto him. Viksha, seeing. Who's seeing? The gopis are seeing. Whom they are seeing? They are seeing Uddhav. How they are seeing? Tam Viksha Krishnanu Charam Brajastriya. Brajastriya are the gopis. Viksha is seeing. Brajastriya Viksha Krishnanu Charam. They are seeing somebody who's Krishna Anucharam, who is a follower of Krishna, who's a devotee of Krishna. They saw. Tam Viksha Krishnanu Charam Brajastriya. Pralamba Vahum. Lamba is long. Pralamba, his hands were very long. Pralamba Bahum. Navakanja Lochanam. Actually, Uddhav in his appearance was almost similar to Krishna. One of the names of Lord Krishna is Kanja Lochanam. Kanja Lochanam is, Kanja is Padma, a lotus. Lochana is eyes, lotus-eyed. Even Krishna's devotees, they also have similar features like Uddhav. We know this is Sarupya Mukti, a mukti or a liberation where a person gets the similar feature as that of the Lord. So Nava Kanjalochanam, it can be Kanjanetram, Kanjaksham. All these are meaning the same, Kanjalochanam. So you just one verse, and Sukadeva Goswami is describing who Uddhav is, and if you see how beautifully this is done. The beauty of Krishna book or the beauty of Bhagavatam lies in the details in which it is explained. Tam Viksha Krishnanucharam Brajastriya Pralamba Bahum. Imagine a person whose hands are very long. Eyes are Kanjalochanam. Not just Kanjalochanam, Navakanjalochanam. It is a fresh lotus flower. The eyes are like Navakanjalochanam. Pitambaram. And what is he wearing? He's wearing a yellow dress like Krishna. Pitambaram. Puskara Malinam, another synonym of Lotus is Puskara, Puskara Mali. Krishna's another name is also Puskara Mali, who's wearing a lotus garland. Puskara Malinam, he's wearing a Puskara Malinam. Uddhav is wearing a lotus garland. Lasan Mukharavindam, and his face, Mukharavindam, Aravinda again, another name of. In this one verse, you see the lotus is used by 4 words. Kanja, tam viksha krishnanu charam rajastriya, pralamba bahum navakanja lochanam. Then Puskara Malinam, Lasan, Mukharavindam, Aravindam, Puskara, Aravinda, Kanja. And there is one more which will come, I'll tell you. Mukharavindam. So the lotus face of Uddhav, Lasan, is very dazzling. It's very beautiful. Lasan, it's glowing. Tam viksha krishnanu charam brajastriya, pralamba bahun navakanja lochanam, pitambaram puskara malinam lasan, mukharavindam parimrashta kundalam. And he was wearing this kundalam, the what do you call this? Earrings. And they how those earrings were parimrashta. They are also very bright, dazzling. So this is how the gopis are seeing. Tam viksha krishnanu charam brajastriya, pralamba bahum navakanja lochanam, pitambaram puskaramalinam rasan, mukharavindam parimrashta kundalam. Then Sukadev Goswami is telling what happened when they saw him. Subismitah ko ayam apibhya darshanaha kutascha kasyas chutavesha bhushanaha itisma sarva paribabhur utsukas tam uttama shloka padam bhujashrayam. Vismita is to become mesmerized, bewildered. Subismitaha, they just completely became stunned. They were stunned to see. Subismitaha. And the first thing they are saying is, Ko ayam, who is he? Kah ayam. Apibhya darshana, his darshana is so beautiful. Apibhya darshanaha. Kutascha, where did he come from? Kasya, who's he? Whose person is he? Kasya. Achyuta vesha bhushanaha. He's wearing Achyuta vesha. Krishna's dress. Achyuta vesha bhushana. Itisma sarva paribabhur utsukas. So saying like this, sarvaha, all of them, paribabhur utsukas, with great eagerness they surrounded him. Itisma sarvaha paribabhur utsukas. Tam uttama shloka padam bhujashrayam. Uttama shloka, another name of the Lord. Padam bhujashrayam. Thinking about, remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. That Lord, they're remembering him. They surrounded this person who is Achyuta vesha bhushana. With great eagerness, they surrounded him. So padam bhuja, ambuja ashrayam. So again, another word is used here is ambuja. Just one verse, and if you just see Prabhupada's translation and the word meanings and see this, how beautifully it is described. It transforms us, it takes us to that place where gopis are actually seeing Uddhav, and Uddhav has reached Vrindavan. Tam viksha krishnanu charam rajastriya, pralamba bahun navakanja lochanam, pitam varam puskara malinam lasan, mukhara vindam parimrishta kundalam. Subismitaha ko ayam apibhya darshanaha, kutascha kasyaschita vesha bhushanaha. Itisma sarvaha paribabhur utsukas, tam uttama shloka padam bhujashrayam. The translation of this is very beautiful. Sukadev Goswami said, the young women of Braja became astonished upon seeing Lord Krishna's servant, who had long arms, whose eyes resembled a newly grown lotus, who wore a yellow garment and a lotus garland, and whose lotus-like face glowed with brightly polished earrings. Who is this handsome man? Ko ayam? The gopis asked, where has he come from? Kutaspa, something like that is there. Whom does he serve? Kashya. He is wearing Krishna's clothes, Achyuta vesha bhushanaha, and ornaments. Saying this, the gopis eagerly crowded around Uddhava, whose shelter was the lotus feet of Lord Uttama Shloka Shri Krishna. This is the first verse. This is Sukadev Goswami is talking. The vision of the gopis of Uddhav, the first time when they saw Uddhav. What happens next? I'll just take one more verse and then I'll talk about the context. Tam prashrayena avanatah susat kratam sa vrida hasekshana sunritadbhihi rahasi apachan upavishtamasane Vigyaya Sandeshaharam Ramapatehe. Come unto him. Prasrayena, with humility. Tam prasrayena avanataha. We say natamastak. Somebody is bowing down. Avanataha. So they bowed down. The gopis with humility. Tam prasrayena avanataha. Susatkritam. They honored him properly. And Savrida Hasekshana Sunritadibihi. So with proper glances, shyness, and smiling faces, they took him to his private place, Rahasi, Aprachan, Upavishtam Asane. They made him sit on an asana, Upavishtam Asane, Rahasi, in a private place. Aprachan, they questioned, they asked him, Vigyaya Sandeshaharam Ramapatehe. They knew Vigyaya Sandeshaharam. Sandeshaharam is an ambassador, is a duta, is a message carrier. Sandeshaharam, he is carrying the message of whom? Ramapatehe. He is the Ramapate. Ramapate is another name of Krishna, master of the goddess of fortune. So Ramapatehe Sandeshaharam Vigyaya. Knowing that he is that exalted personality, Krishna's messenger, they made him sit on an asana and in a private place, and Aprachan, they inquired. Interestingly, even in now, if you see, there are different countries who send their ambassadors to different countries. Ambassadors of a country are treated as well as the country. They are respected like that. You cannot, disrespect, because disrespecting an ambassador is disrespecting the whole country. Here is a duta, is a message carrier, an ambassador of Krishna. And the gopis, by their behavior, avanataha, prashrayana, susatkritam, savrida hasekshana. So they are showing how to treat the messenger of the Lord. And with great humility, with honor, they made him sit in a private place. They want to ask something which is so intimate, which cannot be discussed in open, in public. Where did they see him? Why did they take? To understand this, we have to go back a little bit. So one more, again, picture. But the interesting thing is you have to go back to our Krishna book or Bhagavatam, to the previous chapter, to understand why was Uddhava there in Vrindavan, first of all. What was the reason for Uddhava's presence there? And like I said, I spoke about 2-3 verses from Bhagavatam, how Sukadev Goswami is narrating. What happens when we hear these narrations? So first, let's understand, why did Uddhava go there? What was the reason for Uddhava to go to Vrindavan? Actually, Uddhava is described as the most exalted personality of the Vrishni dynasty. He is almost equal to Krishna. He was a great friend and a relative, because he was also a student of Brihaspati. Very, very learned person, very intelligent and sharp in his decision. So from the intellectual standpoint, he was highly qualified. And Krishna, being a very loving friend of Uddhava, wanted to send him to Vrindavan just to study the highly elevated, ecstatic, devotional service practice there. Even if one is highly elevated in material education and is even the disciple of Brihaspati, he still has to learn from the gopis and the residents of Vrindavan how to love Krishna to the highest degree. Sending Uddhava to Vrindavan with a message to the residents of Vrindavan to pacify them was Krishna's special favor to Uddhava. This is all from Krishna book. Okay, now let me tell you, how did he go? Actually, we saw that scene in that movie when Akrura had come and he's taking away Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan. What Bhagavatam describes, what Krishna book describes, the scene. When he was going to Mathura on the chariot driven by Akrura, and the gopis were practically blocking the way, Krishna assured them that he was coming back just after finishing his business in Mathura. He told them not to be overwhelmed, and in this way he pacified them. But when he did not come back with Nanda Maharaj, it appeared that he either cheated them or could not keep his promise. This is something which many ordinary people will not understand that Krishna promised that he would come, but he never came. He never returned to Vrindavan. Did he not keep his words? Did he break his promise? How do we understand this? Prabhupada explains in Krishna book very beautifully, this beautiful explanation. Expert devotees, however, have decided that Krishna was neither a cheater nor a breaker of promises. Krishna, in his original identity, returned with Nanda Maharaj and stayed with gopis and Mother Yashoda in his bhava expansion. Krishna can expand in his bhava. He was always present in Vrindavan, not physically, but in the intense absorption of all the Brajavasis, including the cows, the trees, the creepers, the birds, the grass. Forget about the gopis and Radharani. They are anyway very, very exalted. Krishna came back in his bhava expansion. Krishna and Balaram remained in Mathura, not in their original forms, but in their expansions as Vasudeva and Sankarsana. The real Krishna Balaram were in Vrindavan in their bhava manifestation, whereas in Mathura they appeared in the Prabhava and Vaibhava expansion. This is the expert opinion of advanced devotees of Krishna. But when Nanda Maharaj was preparing to return to Vrindavan, there was discussion amongst him, Krishna and Balaram, as to how the boys could live in separation from Nanda. The conclusion to separate was reached by mutual agreement. So we all know that Vasudeva and Devaki happened to be Krishna and Balaram's real parents. They wanted to keep them now because of the death of Kamsa. When Kamsa was alive, they were kept under the protection of Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan. Now, naturally, the father and mother of Krishna and Balaram wanted them to remain with them, specifically for the reformatory function of purification, the sacred thread ceremony. They also wanted to give them a proper education, for this is the duty of the father. Another consideration was that all the friends of Kamsa outside Mathura were planning to attack Mathura. For that reason also, Krishna's presence was required. So on and so forth. I'll read some portions of this, very, very interesting excerpts. These are very, very nicely captured by Prabhupada. Since Krishna had departed from Vrindavan to Mathura, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Srimati Radharani, the gopis and the cowherd boys were simply thinking of Krishna at every step. They were thinking Krishna was playing in this way, Krishna was blowing his flute, Krishna was joking with us, Krishna was embracing us. And this is called Leela Smarana. Actually, if you pay attention to this particular paragraph in Krishna book where Prabhupada is explaining, this is called Leela Smarana. Krishna was not present physically there. And this is the simplest process of association with Krishna and most recommended by great devotees. Even Lord Chaitanya enjoyed Leela Smarana association with Krishna when he was at Puri. Those who are in the most exalted position of devotional service and ecstasy can live with Krishna always by remembering his pastimes. Those who are in the most exalted position of devotional service and ecstasy can live with Krishna always by remembering his pastimes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura has given us a transcendental literature entitled Krishna Bhavanamrita, which is full with Krishna's pastimes. Devotees can remain absorbed in Krishna thought by reading such books. Any book of Krishna Leela, even this book Krishna and our teachings of Lord Chaitanya, is actually a solace for devotees who are feeling the separation of Krishna. It's a very important thing. Unfortunately, our life is so busy, so mad actually. We're so engrossed in so many things. And as even materialists have understood, that attention span of people are so less. We can't sit in one place for 30 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, it becomes difficult. And we are restless always. Not that only Krishna Katha we don't have taste. We don't have taste for anything. Any work that we do, immediately we want to change to something else. Some Facebook, some YouTube, some WhatsApp. And these are always hankering. These are always, they are disturbing us. They are maddening us. How will we ever be able to pay attention to those minute details given by Sukadev Goswami in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam? These are so relishable. I'm reading this. If you read the verses of Bhagavatam, they are even more sweeter. So anyway, then in the meantime, what is happening is Uddhava, a cousin brother of Krishna, came to see Krishna from Dwarka. He was the son of Vasudev's brother and was almost the same age as Krishna. So Vasudev's brother's son, and he was almost the same age as Krishna. His bodily features resembled Krishna's almost exactly. After returning from his teacher's home, Krishna was pleased to see Uddhava, who happened to be his dearmost friend. He wanted to send him to Vrindavan with a message to the residents to pacify their deep feeling of separation. And Prabhupada is saying, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tatheva bhajamyaham. Krishna is very responsive. He responds in proportion to the devotee's advancement in devotional service. We sometimes, because of our material conditioning, seem to act intelligently by not doing some devotional service. In our heart, there is something. In our action, there is something. In our words, there is something. In our mind, there is something. But Krishna, who is seated in our heart, understands every single desire of ours, every single intention, what we have, what we want to do. We can't cheat him. Often we blame the process, saying that why we are not making progress. But often we fail to see, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tatheva bhajamya. If my surrender is not 100%, if I want to keep some distance and go away from Krishna, why will Krishna reciprocate? So based on the absorption of these gopis, he responds in proportion to the devotee's advancement in devotional service. The gopis were thinking of Krishna in separation 24 hours a day. Krishna was also thinking of the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, and the residents of Vrindavan. Although he appeared to be away from them, he could understand how they are transcendently aggrieved. So he immediately wanted to send Uddhava to give them a message of solace. Uddhava is described as the most exalted personality in the Vrishni dynasty, almost equal to Krishna. I spoke about this. Lord Krishna's name is Hari, which means one who takes away all the distress from the surrendered souls. Lord Chaitanya states that there cannot be at any time a worship as exalted as that realized by the gopis. Today morning I was telling this verse. Ramya kachid upasana brajabatu vargena ya kalpita. There cannot be a worship which is superior than the worship of gopis. Being very anxious about the gopis' grief, Krishna talked with Uddhava and politely requested him to go to Vrindavan. Shaking Uddhava's hand with his own hands, he said, My dear gentle friend Uddhava, please go immediately to Vrindavan and try to pacify my father and mother. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi and the gopis, they are very much grief-stricken and if suffering from great ailments. So go and give them a message. I hope their ailments will be partially relieved. The gopis are always absorbed in thoughts of me. They have dedicated body, desire, life, and soul to me. I am anxious not only for the gopis, but for anyone who sacrifices society, friendship, love, and personal comforts for me. It is my duty to protect such exalted devotees. The gopis are the most dear. They are always thinking of me in such a way that they remain overwhelmed and almost dead in anxiety due to separation from me. They are keeping alive simply by thinking that I am returning to them very soon. So when thus requested by Krishna, Uddhav goes to, immediately he takes his chariot and he goes to Gokul. Actually, the scene, how Uddhav goes, is so beautifully described in Bhagavatam. He approached Vrindavan at sunset, when the cows were returning home from the pasturing ground. Uddhav and his chariot were covered by the dust raised by the hooves of the cows. The cows are coming. It's a large number of cows. Vrindavan is a village and the cows are returning. It's a sunset time. And there were a lot of dust which is coming out of the hooves of these cows. And the chariot got covered by the hoops, by the dust which is coming out of the hoops of these cows. The Uddhava and his chariot were covered by the dust raised by the hoops of the cows. He saw bulls running after cows for mating. Other cows with overladen milk bags were running after the calves to fill them with milk. Uddhava saw that the entire land of Vrindavan was filled with white cows and their calves. Cows were running here and there all over Gokul, and he could hear the sound of milking. Every residential house in Vrindavan was decorated for the worship of the sun god and the fire god, and for the worship of the sun god and the fire god, and for the reception of guests, cows, brahmanas, and demigods. Every home was illuminated with light and incense arranged for sanctification. Actually, these words are talking about different senses. Lights, it's referring to the eyes. Incense is referring to the nose. But the way it is written, you can actually visualize the whole scene. Every home was illuminated with light and incense arranged for sanctification. All over Vrindavan, there were nice flower garlands, flying birds, and the humming sound of the bees. See how nice flower garlands, flying birds, and humming sound of the bees. The lakes were filled with lotus flowers and with ducks and swans. So imagine there is a chariot which is coming, and then it is covered with the dust of the hoops of these cows who are returning home. It is sunset time. All the houses are illuminated. There is incense stick. And then there is flower garlands, flying birds, humming bees. And the lakes were filled with lotus flowers and with ducks and swans. Uddhav entered the house of Nanda Maharaj. He was received as a representative of Vasudev. Nanda Maharaj offered him a place and sat down with him to ask about messages from Krishna and other family members in Mathura. He could understand that Uddhav was a very confidential friend of Krishna and therefore must have come with good messages. So this is the first thing which Nanda Maharaj is asking to Uddhav. My dear Uddhav, how is my friend Vasudev enjoying life? He is now released from the prison of Kamsa and he is now with his friends and his children, Krishna and Balaram. He must be very happy. Tell me about him and his welfare. We are also very happy that Kamsa, the most sinful demon, is now killed. He was always envious of the family of the Yadus, his friends and relatives. Now, because of his sinful activities, he is dead and gone along with all his brothers. And then, please let us know whether Krishna is remembering his father and mother, his friends and companions in Vrindavan. Does he like to remember his cows, his gopis, his Govardhan hill, his pasturing ground in Vrindavan? Or has he forgotten all of this? Is there any possibility of his coming back to his friends and relatives so that we can again see his beautiful face with its raised nose and lotus-like eyes? We remember how he saved us from the forest fire, how he saved us from the great snake Kalia in the Yamuna, and how he saved us from so many other demons. And we simply think how much we are obliged to him for giving us protection in so many dangerous situations. My dear Uddhava, when we think of Krishna's beautiful face and eyes and his different activities here in Vrindavan, we become so overwhelmed that all our activities cease. We simply think of Krishna, how he used to smile, how he looked upon us. When you go to the banks of the Yamuna and other lakes of Vrindavan or near Govardhan Hill or the pasturing field, we see that the impressions of Krishna's footprints are still on the surface of the earth. We remember him. We remember him playing in those places because he was constantly visiting them. When his appearance within our minds become manifest, we immediately become absorbed in thoughts of him. We think, therefore, that Krishna and Balaram may be chief demigods in heaven who have appeared before us like ordinary boys in order to execute particular duties on earth. Having said this, Nanda Maharaj goes on to remember some of the pastimes which Krishna performed. So he's telling, besides Kamsa, so first he told, if Krishna were not a great personality, how could he have killed Kamsa, who possessed the strength of 10,000 elephants? Besides Kamsa, there were very strong wrestlers, as well as the giant elephant Kubalaya Pida. All these animals and demons were killed by him, just as a lion kills an ordinary animal. How wonderful it is that Krishna took in one hand the big heavy bow made of 3 joined palm trees and broke it very quickly. How wonderful it is that continuously for 7 days he held up Govardhan Hill in one hand. How wonderful it is that he has killed all the demons like Pralambasura, Dhenukasura, Arishtasura, Trinavrata, Bakasura. They were all so strong that even the demigods in the heavenly planets were afraid of them. But Krishna killed them as easily as anything. Now, Bhagavatam says something which is so powerful. While describing the uncommon activities of Krishna before Uddhava, Nanda Maharaj gradually became overwhelmed and could not speak anymore. As for Mother Yashoda, she sat by the side of her husband and heard the pastimes of Krishna without speaking. She was simply crying incessantly, and milk was pouring from her breasts. When Uddhava saw Maharaj Nanda and Yashoda so extraordinarily overwhelmed with thoughts of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and when he experienced their extraordinary affection for him, he also became overwhelmed and spoke as follows. My dear Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, you are most respectable among human beings, because no one but you can meditate in such transcendental ecstasy. See, he became choked. Nanda Maharaj could not speak anymore. He's just thinking about those pastimes, uncommon activities of Krishna. Voice faltered. And Mother Yashoda, she was just sitting silently there next to him. She is crying incessantly. Now, what to speak in that kind of a situation? Uddhav is telling you are the most respectable human beings because no one but you can meditate in such transcendental ecstasy. Both Balaram and Krishna are the original personalities of Godhead from whom the cosmic manifestation is emanating. They are chief among all personalities. Both of them are effective cause of this material creation. Material nature is conducted by the Purusha incarnations. And he goes on to speak some philosophy. If we practice Krishna consciousness in this present body while we are in a healthy condition and in a good mind, simply by chanting the holy Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, we will have every possibility of fixing our mind upon Krishna at the time of death. If that is done, then our life becomes successful without any doubt. Similarly, if we keep our mind always absorbed in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, naturally at the time of death, we shall think of such activities and again be forced to enter into a material conditioned body to suffer the threefold miseries of material existence. Therefore, to remain always absorbed in Krishna consciousness was the standard of the inhabitants of Vrindavan as exhibited by Maharaj Nanda, Yashoda and the gopis. If we can simply follow their footsteps, even to a minute proportion, our lives will surely become successful and we will enter into the spiritual kingdom Vaikuntha. You'll find the mention of Radharani in the verse 9.13 where Prabhupada says to the purport of the verse, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. Mahan Atma, Mahatma. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. They take shelter of the internal energy of the God. If we constantly absorb our mind, our activities in devotional service, not for anybody else's sake, not for somebody else is telling us to do, so we have to do. I otherwise would have done something for our own sake. If we absorb ourselves in that, as Krishna promises here, that there will be every possibility of fixing our mind upon Krishna at the time of death. If that is done, then our life becomes successful without any doubt. Definition of success is very simple, but action is not easy. With a disturbed mind, with a disturbed environment, with a faulty intelligence, which gives us all kinds of justifications to do all fruitive activities, we cannot concentrate on this. Then Uddhav continues, my dear Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, you have thus fixed your minds wholly and solely upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan in his transcendental form, the cause of impersonal Brahman. The Brahman effulgence is only the bodily ray of Narayana. And because you are always absorbed in ecstatic thought of Krishna and Balaram, what activity remains to be performed by you? I have brought a message from Krishna to the effect that he will soon come back to Vrindavan and satisfy you both by his personal presence. Krishna promised that he would come back to Vrindavan after finishing his business in Mathura. This promise he will surely fulfill. I therefore request you both, who are best among all fortunates, to be not aggrieved on account of Krishna's absence. So then he says, you are already perceiving his presence 24 hours a day, and yet he will come and see you very soon. Actually, he is present everywhere in everyone's heart, just as fire is present in wood. And he goes on and talking about some more philosophy. So like this, when they are talking, Nanda Maharaj and Uddhav is spending the time, the whole night, because this was sunset when he came, and their whole night is spent in discussing about Krishna. Then happens morning. And when the morning happens, the gopis prepared for morning aratrika by lighting their lamps and sprinkling butter mixed with yogurt. After finishing their Mangal aratrika, they engaged themselves in churning butter from yogurt. While the gopis were thus engaged, the lamps reflected on their ornaments became still more illuminated. The churning rod, their arms, their earrings, their bangles, everything moved, and the kumkuma powder gave their faces a saffron luster comparable to the rising sun. While churning, they also sang the glories of Krishna. The two sound vibrations mixed together, the churning of the things and whatever the bangles and other things that they're wearing, and the singing, the two sound vibrations mixed together, ascended to the sky and sanctified the whole atmosphere. After sunrise, the gopis came as usual. That means they always used to come to offer their respects to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. But when they saw the golden chariot of Uddhava at the door, first thing that they noticed is the golden chariot of Uddhava at the door. They began to inquire among themselves, what was that chariot and whom did it belong? Some of them inquired whether Akrura, who had taken away Krishna, actually they were not telling Akrura as Akrura, they were saying they were addressing him as Krura, because he's very cruel, who has taken away Krishna and Balaram. Some of them inquired whether Akrura, who had taken away Krishna, had again returned. They were not very pleased with Akrura, because being engaged in the service of Kamsa, he took Krishna away to the city of Mathura. All the gopis conjectured that Akrura might have come again to fulfill another cruel plan. But they thought, we are now dead bodies without our supreme master, Krishna. What further act can he perpetrate on these dead bodies? While they were talking in this way, Uddhava finished his morning ablutions, prayers, and chanting and came before them. And then we read those two prayers, two verses which Sukadeva Goswami narrates. Very interestingly, Bhagavatam, this is just what I read is just a preamble. Uddhava has come being sent by Krishna with a message to deliver to his father Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. Actually, when Uddhava was taken away by the gopis to a place which is secluded, which is private, where they were about to tell what is going on inside their heart, in their mind, and what Uddhava notices is just inexplicable. These are some of the scenes. If you read, actually the chapter, 47 chapter has got about 60 or 70 verses. And I just read 2-3 verses at the beginning. If you read the whole chapter, there is this chapter is entitled in Bhagavatam as Brahmara Geet. It's a conversation which one exalted devotee has with a bumblebee. So actually the gopis, just to give you again further more context, the gopis have taken Uddhava and they are about to discuss, they are about to narrate how they are feeling the intense separation of Krishna and how Bhagavatam describes that. It's just extraordinary. Imagine for us if we don't see Krishna or the deities for days, for months also sometimes. It doesn't matter. We're not worried. One day we didn't have darshan, we didn't have darshan. How big deal it is. Here Krishna is not present before them. Possibly the exalted, most exalted devotees, they are expecting Krishna to be there always. Krishna has just never returned. But how much of absorption, how much of vipralambarasa, how much of intense separation they're experiencing in their hearts. It's unthinkable. I know you will be knowing this verse composed by Bilwa Mangal Thakur and Krishna Karnamrit, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, where there is this particular stanza which comes, Vikretu Kama Kila Gopakanya Murari Padar Pita Chitta Vritti Dadhyadikam Mahobasad Vocha Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Govinda Damodar Madhaveti Vikretu Kama Kila Gopakanya. So this Gopakanyas, this is not when Krishna has left. This is as per Bilwa Mangal Thakur when Krishna was present in Vrindavan. But these gopis, the absorption of gopis are described in one of these verses. There are so many verses. Vikretu Kama, they have gone to sell. What they have gone to sell? Dadhyadikam Mahobasad Abochat. Milk, curd, paneer, all these things they have gone to sell. But since Murari Padar Pita Chitta Vritti, their Chitta and Vritti both are absorbed in the lotus feet of Murari. Murari Padar Pita Chitta Vritti. When they are selling, like usually they say, Dahi le lo, ya Doodh le lo, Paneer Lelo. Instead of that, they're saying Govinda Lelo, Damodar Lelo, Madhav Lelo. Dadhyadikam Maho Vasad Avocha, Govinda Damodara Madhav. Though desiring to sell milk, dahi, butter, etc., the mind of a young gopi was so absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna that instead of calling out milk for sale, she bewilderedly said Govinda, Damodara, and Madhava. Anyway, so this is the state, and the state of this is so beautifully described. I don't have exactly words to narrate, but you have to see that in the books of Bhagavatam and Krishna book. When this discussion is happening, as I said, when the gopis have surrounded Uddhav, you can stand if you want to. When the gopis have surrounded Uddhav, that time there is a bumblebee which comes. And this bumblebee is seen by one gopi. That is what Bhagavatam says. It doesn't mention the name of the gopi. And this gopi is having a conversation with this bumblebee. And the gopi is telling, he's addressing the bumblebee as a messenger of Krishna. And there is the outpouring of intense emotions to this bumblebee in 10 verses from 12 to 21. These are called the Brahmara Geet. That how the messenger of Krishna has come in the form of bumblebee and what they want to tell, communicate to this. Actually, that gopi that is mentioned in Bhagavatam, some gopi, and the acharyas comment that it is actually Radharani. Radharani is telling, she is outpouring her heart's emotions, and those verses are just so wonderful. Anyway, if we have to logically conclude this chapter, I want to say that after this intense dialogue and the outpouring of their heart's emotions by these gopis, including Radharani, what Uddhav could have done possibly? There's nothing that he could have done at that position. He had a letter which he wanted to read. He read that letter to console them. He went on to describe the pastimes of the Lord more and more. He stayed in Vrindavan for 7 months. And while staying in Vrindavan for 7 months, he was chanting this 5 verses always, every single day. And we will see that as the summary at the conclusion. That also talks about the supremacy of Radharani and her position. Who is Srimati Radharani? That is what is our title. What are those 5 verses? It's not in this. Okay, first one. This is 58 to 58, 59, 60, 61, 62. 5 verses. I just have put the translations. You can just see what Uddhava's conclusion is. Among all persons on earth, these cowherd women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. Their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence, by great sages, and by ourselves as well. For one who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord, what is the use of taking birth as a high-class Brahmana or even as Brahma himself? Uddhava himself was born in a high-class Brahmana. So what is the use of being born as a high-class Brahmana or as Brahma himself? So he's first telling the positions of this gopis, this seemingly ordinary women. Among all persons on earth, these cowherd women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. That is what is missing in our heart. The proportion to which the love in our heart is missing to the Lord, proportionately we are attracted to this material world. Even in the name of devotional service, we look for other things. It becomes an eyewash just for the sake of doing, or just for something I like to do, I do. Not because I'm really I've understood my constitutional position that I'm part and parcel of the Lord, Daivim Prakritim Ashrita. I should be engaged in internal energy of the Lord and I should be doing the service. That attitude is not there. Among all persons on earth, these cowherd women alone have actually perfected their embodied lives, for they have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Lord Govinda. Their pure love is hankered after by those who fear material existence. So that love that they have for Krishna is hankered after by those who fear material existence. Material existence is extremely fearful. Prabhupada again and again says, the reason we are disturbed is asat grahat. We have accepted this body as permanent, temporary body as permanent, And our existence in this material world is temporary. We cannot have any eternal happiness, eternal shelter here. That is why we are always disturbed. Those who fear material existence, by great sages and by ourselves as well, for one who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord, what is the use of taking birth as a high-class Brahmana or even as Brahma himself? Who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord? That taste, that relish, I'm telling the details. It is wonderful. It is just out of the world. But you have to develop the taste. Books are there. Everything is available. Festivals are coming. We know and we are fortunate to have come in touch with pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. How much we are ready to apply that in our life? How much we are ready to follow in the footsteps of these devotees? How much we are ready to follow or implement these things in our lives? It's not something to be heard, oh, very nice, and then we forget and we go back. No, it has to be for one who has tasted the narrations of the infinite Lord. What is the use of taking birth as a high-class Brahmana or even as Brahma himself? Uddhav continued singing. How amazing it is. Where is that? Bhagavatam. So one thing which in the previous verse, the disciples of Prabhupada is mentioning that the high births as Brahmanas or even Brahma cannot compare to pure Krishna consciousness. In fact, Sri Uddhava, who spoke this verse, took birth as a pure Brahmana, but he deprecates the position in comparison to that of the exalted gopis who had pure love for Krishna. Then 10.47.59, Uddhav continued singing. How amazing it is that these simple women who wander about the forest, seemingly spoiled by improper behavior, have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Krishna. Still, it is true that Supreme Lord himself awards his blessings even to an ignorant worshipper, just as the best medicine works even when taken by a person ignorant of its ingredients. How amazing it is that these simple women who wander about the forest, seemingly spoiled by improper behavior, the whole world criticizes, have achieved the perfection of unalloyed love for Krishna. It is true that the Supreme Lord himself awards his blessings even to an ignorant worshipper, just as the best medicine works even when taken by a person ignorant of its ingredients. We may not know what is the value of this devotional service. What are we given? What is on our plate? We don't know. But even if ignorantly we are engaging, we are taking that, it gives us the highest position. Lord Krishna is criticized by worldly people for his stealing butter, tending cows, wandering in the forest, eating with the monkeys, dancing with others' wives, and so on. Yet he, as the Supreme Lord, exists on the highest platform of purity and morality, and always remain praiseworthy by sensible people. Similarly, some people criticize the gopis for being mere cowherd women living in the forest and behaving in an apparently improper way of associating with Krishna. So these gopis constituted of the Lord's pleasure potency, Alhadini Sakti, and are on the highest standard of purity and auspiciousness, even in comparison to the goddess of fortune, and thus they are supremely glorious. Let's see the next one quickly. When Lord Shri Krishna was dancing with the gopis in the Rasa Leela, the gopis were embraced by the arms of the Lord. This transcendental favor was never bestowed upon the goddess of fortune or other consorts in the spiritual world. Indeed, never was such a thing even imagined by the most beautiful girls in the heavenly planets, whose bodily luster and aroma resemble the lotus flower. What to speak of worldly women who are very beautiful according to the material estimation. So this is the position of the gopis. Even goddess of fortune is not given this kind of a position. And then, very interestingly, Uddhav is asking for something which we should all aspire for. Uddhav's prayer is, gopis of Vrindavan have given up the association of their husbands, sons, and other family members who are very difficult to give up. and they have forsaken the path of chastity to take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, Krishna, which one should search for by Vedic knowledge. Oh, let me be fortunate enough to be one of the bushes, creepers, or herbs in Vrindavan, because the gopis trample them and bless them with the dust of their lotus feet. It's not easy what the gopis have done, have given up the association of their husbands, sons, and other family members who are very difficult to give up. Because of this external potency of the Lord, it appears this body is mine. I have to take care of this body. These people are mine. This is my father, my mother, my children, my husband, my wife. And to give up that association, to understand that they are all temporary, to understand that the bodily relationship will come to an end at the time of death, to understand that we are eternal, part and parcel of the Lord. We are always connected to the Lord. Mamevamso jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashrasthani indriyani prakritistani parsati. We have nothing to do with this material world, with this body, with this bodily identification. Not easy. They have forsaken the path of chastity to take shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, Krishna, which one should search for by Vedic knowledge. Or let me be fortunate enough to be one of the bushes, creepers, or herbs in Vrindavan, because the gopis trample them, bless them with the dust of their lotus feet. So actually they explain that being a humble Vaishnava, Uddhav does not pray to be equal to the gopis in their exalted stage of love, but rather to take birth as a bush or creeper in Vrindavan, so that when they walk upon him, he will get their dust and be blessed. This is the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It is not that how superior I am, how I am such a big devotee, how because of me everything is happening. Our whole mood is dasa dasanudasa. How much we are executing that. One thing, if it is told little this way, then I don't like it. I'm over, done. That is not what this mood of great devotees are. The devotees like gopis, the devotees like Radharani are ready to sacrifice everything. They are intensely absorbed in Krishna. They are ready to follow whatever. Everything else is temporary. First thing is, how do I please Krishna? Not directly, but by engaging in the service of the devotees of Krishna. Krishna himself says, somebody who declares that who's my devotee is actually not my devotee. Somebody may say, how is it possible? He's telling I'm your devotee and you're saying he's not your devotee. Yes, Krishna says, those who say that he's my devotee is actually not my devotee. Those who say that he's a devotee of my devotee is actually my devotee. That is a mood. A devotee of my devotee. There's a nice article which I saw in the Back to Godhead magazine. It says, related to this only. How can I serve you? The title of the article is, How Can I Serve You? And this topic is fundamental to everything we do in devotional service. The mood always should be not just to the Lord, even to devotees. How can I serve you? Not that how much I can demand service from you. Come and do this for me. That is not what devotional life is all about. The mood should always be, how can I serve you? Understanding this principle requires each of us to know clearly that as living beings, our nature and our happiness in achieving that nature rests on the principles of service. When we say service as an activity, we mean service rendered for the benefit of the person being served. Service that is done without this motivation is defined more as using another to get something for ourselves. Service means just to please the other person. That is the way it is done. Not some service is done without this motivation is defined more as using another to get something for ourselves. The dynamics on how service is executed solely for the benefit of the person served is described throughout the scriptures as pure devotional service. When we do something for someone in order to please or benefit that person in some way, then that service establishes a relationship with that person that is pleasing and satisfying to both. Just okay. Anyway, then moving on, Uddhav says, the goddess of fortune herself, along with Lord Brahma and the other demigods who are masters of yogic perfection, can worship the lotus feet of Krishna only within her mind. But during the Rasa dance, Lord Krishna placed his feet upon these gopis' bodies, and by embracing those feet, the gopis gave up all distress. They gave up all the distress. So these 5 prayers, Uddhav continuously sings during the 7-month stay of his in Vrindavan. So he establishes the glories of the gopis in these 5 verses, and Uddhav now directly offers his obeisances to them, considering himself completely unqualified for such direct service to the Lord. Uddhav simply offers respects to the gopis to attain such a bhava. So the last verse that Uddhav concludes with, I repeatedly offer my respects to the dust from the feet of the women of Nanda Maharaj's cowherd village. When these gopis loudly chant the glories of Sri Krishna, the vibration purifies the 3 words. Vande Nanda Brajastrinam Pada Rainum Abhikshnasaha Yasam Harikatha Kathatvitam Punati Bhuvanatrayam. Punati Bhuvanatrayam. When these gopis cry out, whatever Govinda Damodara Madhaviti, the whole atmosphere, the vibration purifies the 3 words. And then he takes permission to leave. But in this chapter that we read, I skipped many things. I skipped the conversation which Radharani has with the bumblebee. That's known as Brahmaragi. And then Uddhav tries to pacify these gopis. In doing so, he realizes his own frailty, his own inability. He realizes his own position, and he realizes how superior their position, especially that of Radharani. And he concludes like this. He thinks that the only way these gopis I can help them is by telling more and more Krishna Katha, so that they get that same nectar, the relish of remembering those pastimes, Leela Smaran. That's what he does, and concludes with these 7 verses. Now, as I said at the beginning today in the morning, that tomorrow is the auspicious appearance day of Srimati Radharani, the most compassionate, eternal pleasure potency of the Lord, Alhadini Sakti. Of course, we are fasting, but the one strong intent should be, when we go before Radharani, either today or tomorrow, whenever it is, on her appearance, on her divine auspicious appearance, we should pray to Radharani that how I can always remain as an eternal servant of your servant. Radharani, please give me this humble position of becoming a servant of your servant infinite times. In that way, if Radharani gives us this position, and she notices and she recommends to Krishna, and Krishna will accept us. We will come out of the cycle of birth and death. These descriptions of gopis, or the description of Nanda Maharaj, or Yashoda Mai, is not meant just to tell that how you have some problems, or how he is not in a good position, or how somebody else is not doing things. It's about our own introspection. Sometimes when we feel, oh, we are chanting 16 rounds, this fellow doesn't know anything. I'm coming for Mangalarati for last so many years, or I'm doing those kind of things. We feel so puffed up in our attitude and behavior. We feel so proud that this fellow anyway got initiated after me, or somebody is not even initiated. But we need to understand what is the position of unconditional pure love. How much of absorption this gopis, especially Radharani, and the pure devotees have, and how much we are caught up and attached and attracted to this material thing still, despite having understood the importance of being engaged in devotional service. And how much of anarthas we need to get rid of. For us, even it is so difficult to associate with sadhus. Adau shraddha atha sadhu sangha tatha bhajana kriya atha anartha nivriti. Anarthas will only go when there is association of devotees. We find ways and means of avoiding that. We find ways and means of going out of that. We find it hard to sit. We find it hard to talk, discuss about Krishna Katha. Where is the question of anarthas being going out of our heart? Where is the question of experiencing the prema in that Mahabhava stage where Radharani is there, where there are those 10 verses that she has, the conversation between the bumblebee and Radharani. They're called jalpas, 10 jalpas, 10 different ways she's having this conversation with bumblebee. And those are all symptoms of high ecstasy, great intense ecstasy, as analyzed by Jiva Goswami and other acharyas. They're telling this cannot be anybody else other than Radharani. And these are all very extreme symptoms of ecstasy. Where is our position? So it is for us to introspect. It is for us to see where all we are having these anarthas and how we are struggling to ensure these anarthas grow in our life. We don't want to, we are stubborn, we are obstinate, we have a very high ego. We want to be the master of all we survey. We want everybody to recognize us. We want everybody to praise us. We want everybody to come and pat us and say that you have done great. Then only I feel that devotional service is complete. If it is not recognized, if it is not seen, I don't even feel that satisfaction. So these are not what devotional service is all about. Pure devotional service has got no hidden motive or agenda or intention. It is only and only meant for pleasing Krishna. In that, there is no considerations, there is no reservations, there is nothing. And as this article, how can I serve you? That mood is very important to keep always in our day-to-day transactions. How can I serve you? How can I serve not just the deities, even the Vaishnavas? Vaishnavas' mercy is extremely important in our devotional life. Without them, we can't go to Vaikuntha Loka. That is why we sing this song every day in the morning. Hari Guru Vaishnava. That line. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavat Gita. So you need the mercy of Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavata and Gita. It is not that just one is enough or two is enough. Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, pleasing Vaishnavas is not a small thing. Getting a privilege to do devotional service is not a small thing. We may not understand because of our conditioned state. We may think I'm doing a great favor on someone, but actually we're not. So these are some of the things that we can learn from this episode of visiting Vrindavan and his observation and his interaction. I skipped many things, but if you read Krishna book, if you read these 2 chapters of Bhagavatam, wonderfully explained. Very, very nicely explained. Anybody has any questions, any comments? Okay, no questions. We'll end here. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Can we do one Hare Krishna Mahamantra? Can you all please come in front of the camera and raise your hands? Oh, what happened to the other hand? Actually, you are holding the mobile, is it? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Hare Hare.
श्री श्री राधाष्टमी महामहोत्सव की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की
जय
प्रेमानंदे।
हरि हरि बोल।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
कनाडा, अंकित हाउस कनाडा। चला गया। ओके। अच्छा, हरे कृष्ण।